Hello and welcome to the FeedLive Entertainment Network. My name is Brett Goodrich.
And I'm Yanni, Tolokan.
And welcome to Real Reviews.
All right, let's get this started.
Today we're going to go through, just like usual, our past, present, and future format. So, Yanni, tell us what we're going to do for the past real quick, and then I'll get into the present and future.
Sounds good. Sounds very good. Basically, we like to keep a nice format here on Real Reviews. We like to get a television segment in, a video game segment, and a movie segment in. And we thought we'd start out this week for a past segment dealing with a series that went off the air a while ago on NBC and actually recently made a nice little comeback. And I've actually gotten into it, I must say. And you know, you can call me a nerd, you can call me whatever you want, but I like this show and I'm sticking with it. A lot of you have seen previews for it. They've hyped it up a lot with movie trailers and actually during commercials and stuff like that. It's actually called V, and V is standing for visitors, as in an alien race that comes down and tries to actually help humans out. And as they try to do that, the humans eventually find out that they're not really that great, and they're actually wanting to enslave us, you know, take over and stuff like that. So you've got a nice, compelling story with a bunch of characters working together, trying to beat this alien race, and, you know, it's a really compelling storyline. It actually started, I think it was '84 on NBC.
Wait, so this isn't, you're not talking about the new show?
Well,
I've seen previews for the new show on TV.
Right. I'm talking about both, you know, because, I mean, as a past show...
So there's another one?
Yeah, there's another one, is what I'm saying. Like, because as a past show, it came out in the 80s, around '84. And, you know, it was very low-tech, you know, it looked a lot like, you know, Star Trek during that time. Like, you know, Next Generation.
Love Star Trek.
Yeah, and Next Generation was pretty cool. But it didn't survive very long, and the characters were really, like, you know, two-dimensional. But a lot of people liked this story, and they were compelled to watch this, you know, day in and day out. Recently came back in 2009 with a brand new look, a lot of, you know, 3D elements, you know, basically the first episode, you see a huge, you know, military fighter crash down. It looks like something straight out of a movie. Like, we're talking, they pulled it all out for the preview of V. And, you know, they keep on going. You know, there's a really, you know, militant leader named Anna, which is actually played by a supermodel, and she does actually a great job.
You're talking about the modern series right now?
I am talking about the modern series.
Gotcha, okay.
This one, I mean, she's doing a spectacular job, and, you know, I'm really encouraged to see what this show will do in the future. It does have a lot to do with the past show in the 80s, and, you know, it keeps some of the same themes. I just consider it an updated version, and that's partly why we're talking about it in the past, you know, kind of it's bringing it together, you know, got a lot of the same elements together. That's it for me as far as the past goes, because, you know, I know Brett's got a lot going on with the present and the future, and we've got to get into that. If you've got any questions, information on V, you want to send to me in the chat or something like that, you know, definitely hit us up. But until then, we're going to Iron Man 2 with Mr. Brett Goodrich.
All right, I'll get there in a second, but I do have a question for you real quick about V. I think we can afford the time.
All right.
And that is, okay, so they had the old show. Did they quit just because people lost interest? You know in this? Or how many seasons did it run, or what? I mean, what's to prevent the modern series from the same thing happening again?
Well, that's the thing, exactly. As far as V goes, with the past series, they only lasted about 2 seasons. And I thought it had a lot to do with the fact that... you know, Star Trek was on during the exact same time, and you cannot compete with a show like Star Trek.
Very true. I'm a Trekkie.
Yeah, Trekkie. Spock all the way. Seriously, though, it was very hard for both shows to keep, you know, afloat. And, you know, we're dealing with NBC here.
And they're the same genre.
Right. And that's true. And we're dealing with NBC. And you got to remember with NBC, they reuse ideas all the time, and they end shows prematurely, I think. And it's true, because, like, as you can see, there's actually a police show coming out, I think, this summer, and it is a lot like another show that it's ended. I think you kind of know
I feel
what
like
I'm
I've heard
about.
of it. Do you know what it's called?
I don't know exactly what it's called.
We'll have to look it up.
Look it up. You guys can get back to us actually in chat with that.
Tell us what it is.
All I do know is NBC loves to reuse these ideas, you know, and constantly they're trying to bring back shows that can get that actual Seinfeld feel that they had in the 90s, you know, because they started with Seinfeld, got rid of it. But all I know is I think V, now that it's on ABC, will have a better following, and will definitely be able to last a lot longer than the previous thing. Only problem with V, though, is it's only got a few episodes per season. but it's enough to keep you really engaged, and they're hour-long episodes. So definitely look forward to that. It's really getting heated up. You know, you can check it out on Hulu, which we're actually we've got sponsors running for that on theshows.net. So definitely check out Hulu for that, and yeah.
All right, now moving on to the present, and something I want to talk about that may be a little bit outdated, but is important none the same, nevertheless, is Iron Man 2. And I know this movie has been out for a little bit, and I just saw it a couple days ago. Have you seen it yet?
I have not seen Iron Man 2 yet, but I do know that I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I've gotten some mixed reviews, you know, as far as, like, you know, they say they wanted him to get back to the basics with Iron Man 1, but they're keeping it together, you know, got a nice storyline, and, you know, the introduction of, like, his, you know, teammate or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So.
But I wrote my review for it, and I was thinking about it, and I wrote down some points that I had, and then I always do this after a review, never before. I went on Rotten Tomatoes just to look at what the critics aggregate had to say about it. And when I looked at it, Iron Man 2 had a 74% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which actually isn't very bad. It's not bad, 74.
Well, especially because it's the critics' website, right?
Right, yeah. So, it takes probably 150, at least that one was about 150 critics, and it puts them all together. They give them a pass-fail. And so that's how 74% of the critics gave him a pass, and that's
pretty good. Yeah,
that's Rotten Tomatoes. It is pretty good, but I was surprised by this. In my opinion, Iron Man 2 was not even a 60. I would be generous to give it a 50, and I actually could not memorize all of my reasons, so I wrote them down on a piece of paper of why Iron Man 2 is not nearly as good as everyone else said it was. All right,
and I laugh at this because this is exactly what I need to do whenever I'm either angry at somebody or angry at something. I'm just like, okay,
you gotta write it down.
This, that, and then,
I even get it presented on before a whole bunch of people. So
perfect. Yeah.
Here's my reasons why Iron Man 2 was not nearly as good as everyone said it was. I'm going to be honest, I really did not like this movie at all. Anyway, first one, Don Cheadle instead of Terrence Howard as James Rhodes. Okay, so the guy from the first one, you might have heard about this one a little bit.
I did.
I've heard about this one. That was part of what I heard from people. It's the guy who is the army guy who's like, and if you saw the first one, he's the guy who keeps calling him on the phone, and he's like, next time, baby, when he sees the suit. And he's just a friend. He's a friend of Tony's.
Right,
and they switched the actor. I love the actor from the old one. He was awesome. And they switched him to this black guy named Don Cheadle, and I just don't think that he does as good of a job, for one. The other guy had a lot more character.
And usually making a character switch like that between sequels, a lot of people get angry, like it's very unprofessional. You know?
And
like
sometimes they get characters that are pretty close, like in like from Batman Batman Begins to The Dark Knight. They switched the girl. I can't remember what her name is. I'm thinking Mary Jane, but that's Spider-Man. But they were fairly close. I mean, it took me a little bit before I noticed the difference, and maybe that's just because I hadn't seen it for a while.
True. And then,
but I mean, it goes from this guy, you know, Terrence Howard, and then to this black guy, and the difference was really huge. You saw Tony Stark trying to treat him the same way, and it just looked awkward because it's like this. We don't know this guy. We haven't seen him before.
Who is this guy? And
so you try to take all the character development that you had from the first one and put it on this guy, and it didn't quite fit right.
And that's the thing. I hate it when, like, movies try to do that where, like, you know, they say, oh, you know this guy, and it's like, no, we have no idea who this guy is. We don't know how he's going to act, and we don't know how he's going to interact with these characters. And you can't just assume that we're going to know, going into the movie, you know, how this guy acts.
Yeah, and from the idea was that they carried it over from the first movie, who this guy was, but it just didn't work for me. I didn't like it. And you know, that's probably okay because the Rhodes, in its own way, because the Rhodes in the second film is different than the Rhodes from the first film. I mean, it seems like his motives are different. It seems like his character is different, almost as if they did just make him a different character and only left him in there as the place that he was in relationship to Tony Stark. Because the guy in the first one was a loyal friend, but who stood up for what was right. The guy in this one, he just like, maybe I've only seen it once, but it seems like his motives were awful. They weren't very well explained. And he just did stuff for no reason. Like I can't give away the movie, but he just does some stuff that is kind of betrayal-ish, and they don't really